We are going to talk today about monetizing your app with Audience Network. If you guys are interested in making money, we have the two best people to tell you how. I want to introduce Vijaye and Sriram. Thank you guys. Give them a round of applause.
Awesome. Okay, you guys having a good time at F8? Yeah. I didn't hear you. All right. Okay, welcome to this talk. We're going to have a lot of fun over the next 30 or 40 minutes. We're going to be talking about what the title says, which is monetizing your app with the Audience Network, or as I like to call it, this is the money talk. Yeah? Okay. Let me introduce myself. I'm Sriram. I'm a product manager here at Facebook working on mobile ads. This handsome gentleman to my right is Vijaye. He's our lead engineer. Funny story about Vijaye. How many of you here use mobile app ads at Facebook? Quite a few. So Vijaye was the person who single-handedly designed and built it for a long period of time. So if you use that, go buy him a beer or some alcoholic beverage much later.
Beer is better.
OK. Before we get into the Audience Network and mobile ads, I want to take you to a different time and a different place. I want to take you to New York, and more specifically, Jackson Heights in Queens. And I want to take you to 1922. So here's the context. Just 10 years before that, the bridge connecting Manhattan and Queens had been built out. So all of a sudden, there was this new suburb up for grabs, ripe with opportunity. So a bunch of real estate developers, including one named the Queensboro Corporation, grabbed on. Those guys went and built this gorgeous building, one of the many apartment complexes in Jackson Heights. They ran into one problem, though. They were having a tough time getting their message out to really try and get people to come and just buy these apartments. So one guy there had like a smart idea. He went to his local radio station, and he said, hey, why don't you let me come in there and just talk about what we have? Now remember, this is 1922. Radio was brand new. It was just becoming a popular broadcast medium, and at the time, it really didn't have a way to monetize. In fact, the prevailing public opinion was that radio should be paid for with taxes or just community supported. So this guy goes on the show, and he speaks for 10 minutes. It's awful. It's boring. He's a terrible speaker. But at the very end, he goes and says, and by the way, these apartments are available today. Within minutes, their phones start ringing off the hook. Within weeks, these apartments are sold out. That radio station, which had 0 advertisers and didn't really have a concept of advertising, had dozens of advertisers within months. Something phenomenal had just happened that would take decades for us to all realize the significance of it. First, this was probably the very first native ad over the airwaves. Somebody using the format of the medium to get their message across to an audience who is receptive. But second, and probably even more important, radio found a way to support itself. They went on to build bigger and bigger radio stations, and pretty soon, they became people's window into the world. It's how people found out what was happening in the world around them. It's how people found when wars happened, what the latest sports score was. It is how people experienced the world. This was 1922. Now, let's forget 1922. Think about 2014. Just like radio was people's window into the world, we have something else, which is our window into the world. This shiny piece of glass in my pocket, the mobile phone. Just think about how, in just the last 7 or 8 years, phones have become the way we experience the world. It's how we find out the news, how we find out the latest sports scores, how we keep in touch with our friends, something we here at Facebook know a lot about, how we share photos, how we send email, just pretty much how we live lives. The numbers are pretty staggering. People spend over 2 hours a day on their phones, every single day. That's a lot of time. To put this in context, that's close to 20% of our time spent in all media, be it print, TV, even radio. If you think about how much time over 2 hours a day is, to put it in context, this is as much as a flight from Chicago to New York, as much as a typical NBA game, or probably as long as a typical Hollywood movie. Except Wolf of Wall Street, Martin Scorsese is crazy. Yeah, just ignore that guy. Apart from that, this example works. If you think about how people are actually spending time inside their phones, they spend it all inside apps. Here we go. So, forget 1922. Just think about 10 years ago and how you experienced computation, how you found out the latest sports scores. You open up your computer, you went to a browser, you typed in a URL, and pretty soon you had the information you want to get access to. Something which still works amazingly well today. But on the phone, something remarkable has happened over the last 6, 7 years. If you think about the icon in the bottom right, the browser, all the things that people do inside the browser has exploded into a world of apps. Like the famous tagline goes, there's an app for that. Be it you want to check sports scores, you want to check your email, you want to stay in touch with your friends, whatever you want to do, there's a great app experience for you. When we look at the numbers, people spend over 85% of time on their phones inside apps. OK, so what do we know? People spend a ton of time on phones. They spend a ton of that time inside apps. That's the good part. Now, here's the catch. Even though people spend close to 20% of time in all media on mobile, it's only around 3.5% of all advertising spent. There's a huge gap between time spent and how much dollars flows into mobile advertising. When we talk to advertisers, we hear the same things over and over again. That on mobile, it can be a challenge to reach the audience you care about with a message that really resonates with them. Now, if you break down the numbers and you see who's actually making money with ads on mobile, this graph is pretty stark. So this is a graph of people who make money on mobile through app-based advertising. There are only a few outliers who actually are able to build sustainable ad-supported business. In fact, when we look at who actually even just makes more than $20,000 a month, which is probably good enough to hire like a few engineers here in San Francisco, there are only a handful of apps which can do and make that happen. This is pretty crazy. We went and spoke to a bunch of our partners. Here's Weather. Amazing company, amazing app. They have over 130 million downloads. But even these guys, as amazing as they are, say that they have a challenge getting advertisers to spend and monetize with them for all the challenges that I spoke about before. Now, we care pretty deeply about this. Because guess what? We have an app ourselves. And like we spoke about in the keynote, we have an app which is used by hundreds of millions of people every single day. And 2 years ago, we were barely, if not absolutely not monetizing all that impressions that we're getting every single day. So we spent a bunch of time trying to figure out, why is this the case? What do we do to actually make mobile advertising work for us? Why doesn't mobile advertising work the way it should be, given so much time is spent on it? We found a couple of things. The first is that so many mobile ads are just annoying and intrusive. Like, how many of you here have seen a mobile ad which is kind of like annoying and gotten your way? Right? OK, that's like most people here. Now, that's like one part, the experience of the ad. The second part is how relevant is the ad to you. So for example, this is meant to show like a story I was telling people about an ad I got a few weeks ago. So I got an ad for a prom dress. Now, there's probably no way for me as a 30-year-old guy for that ad to be appropriate for me, right? By the way, Vijay said that ad should be appropriate for me, but I'm not going to get into that.
I think it is.
But all of us here have experienced something similar, right? Where we've all seen ads, we're like, why am I seeing that ad? That doesn't make any sense. So we set about looking at this and trying to see what we can build that addresses these problems, first just for ourselves. And here's what we came up with. Now, all of you are familiar with what I'm showing here. This is Facebook the experience that most of you are familiar with on iPhone and an Android. Now, we took a bunch of learnings to try and figure out how to address the problems with mobile advertising. The first is that these ads are just meant for that right audience. They use your likes and interests and try and be as good as organic content. They're meant for you. The second, and maybe even more important, they are just rich, gorgeous visual. They take up the entire screen, and they look like any other item in your newsfeed. For example, if before this ad, I had an ad if I had a friend posting a photo, and after this I had a friend posting a news article, they would look exactly the same. They would have the same font, the same colors. People would know how to scroll on them, how to interact with them. It feels like a native experience. We think that this is pretty critical. So when we built this out, what we found is that these really work. And in just like app advertising, which is just like a part of what we do on mobile, we've had a fair bit of success with these ads. For example, in just like the last 15 to 18 months, we have driven over 350 million installs on mobile app stores. That's a large amount of installs being driven through Facebook. To put this in perspective, over 60% of the top grossing list on iOS work with Facebook to get these installs. So these ads just really, really work. And so when we started and thought about it, we were like, OK, we have something that really works for us. How can we go and help everybody else, for all the folks here and watching at home who build apps every single day? So that's why today, like we announced in the keynote, we are really proud to announce the launch of the Audience Network. Now, here's the key. We think all of your apps are amazing. We think they're awesome. We know that you have put passion and sweat and tears and hopefully not a lot of blood into building these apps. We think these apps are great. But we think that mobile advertising today really struggles with helping advertisers reach the audiences inside your app, to find out who that audience is, and to show them something that they really want to see. So if we can fix it for advertisers, we can help you monetize your apps. And that's what we're going to try and do. So how are we going to do this? We're going to do three things. The first is we're going to try and make it super simple for all the advertisers who work with Facebook today to advertise inside your apps as well. Second, we're going to try and make it super easy for those advertisers to reach exactly the audience they care about inside your apps. And finally, we're going to try and make these ads as accurate as possible and as measurable as possible. Let's dig into this. The first is we need to make this easy for advertisers. So what we went and did is we took our existing ad interfaces, Create Flow, Power Editor, and we made it so that with just one checkbox, and that is literally one checkbox, not figuratively, as my grammar friends like to correct me, with literally just one checkbox, you can now run ads on the Audience Network as well, with no additional work from the advertiser. So this means you, as a publisher, all of a sudden get access to over the 1 million advertisers that Facebook has today. And that number keeps growing. So that's one, making it super simple for these advertisers. The second is how do we help advertisers reach the right audience inside your apps? So if you remember my prom dress example, that ad was terribly targeted for me. But what if they showed me an ad for Guardians of the Galaxy? Like, I'm a comic book fan. I would love an ad for that. So what we're trying to do is to make it so that all the power of ads targeting on Facebook now works inside of your app as well. So for example, I would see an ad which is meant for me as a person, powered by the targeting on Facebook, be it demographics, be it the things I like, or all the other things which are available to Facebook advertisers today. This could also mean Facebook advertisers bringing in their own customers and building out things like custom audiences, which help them reach their own customers on Facebook. They can now do that on the Audience Network as well. All right. We try to make it easy, and we're trying to make it super simple to reach the audience we care about. The third part of this is how do we make it so that it's as measurable as we care about? There we go. So if you look at the numbers behind these ads, for a narrowly targeted campaign, our reach is 89% accurate, which for the folks here who know mobile advertising is pretty high. That's over 2 times most other mobile ad networks. Apart from this, we are trying to make it so that the audience network works exactly the same way in terms of measurement as all of our other ad products. So for folks among you who use Ads Manager or use other tools or use our measurement partners, this is going to work exactly the same way. It's going to show up in the same graphs, the same charts. It's the same thing. We think this is pretty important. OK, we've just spoken about how we made it easy for advertisers. The second part of this is how do we make these ads as rich, engaging, and as gorgeous as possible? So to do that, we are launching a series of ad units today. The first of these is a standard banner. Now, folks among you who are familiar with mobile advertising or who run ads, this is familiar to you. This is a typical IAB banner, 320 by 50 pixels. And what we're going to do is to show these ads with no extra work from the advertiser in a banner format. The second, which you see on the right side, is a full-screen interstitial. Again, something very familiar to you. This works in landscape or portrait, gorgeous, rich visual ads which take up the entire screen. This is really meant to give you ads which you're familiar with, which are just super easy to set up. So those are banners and interstitials. But I spent so much time talking about how the best kind of ads are the ones which are native to the experience. How do we build ads which are just like Facebook's ads and they fit the experience on newsfeed? How do you have the equivalent of that guy going on that radio show and telling that story? To do that, we are also announcing the launch of native ad units. We are really excited by this. The idea here is we think the best kind of ads fit the app they are in terms of the experience, just like the ads on newsfeed. So to do that, we're going to have Vijay dig into this a little bit more in detail later. But basically, we give you an API, and you can use that API to format these ads in any way you see fit. So we mocked up a few examples here. On the left, you see a typical feed-style app, not very dissimilar from Facebook. And over here, you see an ad in the middle, which is being powered by the audience network. Same interaction metaphor. You can scroll. It looks exactly the same. It looks like any other item in that feed. In the middle, you have a discovery app showing an item just like any other item in that app. And on the right side, you see a music app, again, showing an ad in a format which is native to that app. The idea behind these examples is to not talk about how good-looking they are, but to show you that you can make any ad fit within the experience of your app. And that's the critical part. So we asked our designers to come with something really crazy. Right? And they came with a really pink robot, which now shows you an ad powered by the audience network. This is crazy and wacky, but you can see how you can just really use your creativity to come up with something which fits your experience. So we think we love this. We're really, really excited about this, and we think a lot of you are going to be too. OK, so recap. What have we spoken about? The audience network is all about trying to find the right ads for your audience as publishers, because your apps are awesome. It's going to give you access to over 1 million Facebook advertisers. And finally, it's going to give you great, gorgeous, good-looking ads, which your users are going to love. OK, I've spoken for quite a bit of time. I think it's time to roll up our sleeves on this hard day and see how to actually get this working. So I'm going to turn it over to my coder extraordinaire, Vijay, to show how the code works. Vijay, enlighten us all.
Thank you, Sriram. Could we get my laptop on the screen? Oh, perfect. All right. Sriram talked a little bit about the audience network and how audience network can help monetize your mobile applications. I'm going to switch gears a little bit, and I'll write some code. And I'll show you how you can take your existing mobile apps, drop in the audience network SDK, and you can make money out of your app, as Sriram would say. So for the purposes of this demo, I've put together a little app, I like to call public. Basically, what this app is doing is it's taking feed stories from Facebook using Graph API and puts it together in this nice scrollable format. These scrollable feed apps are pretty popular. And I will show you how you can drop in the SDK and now make this app make money for you. But before I jump into code, I want to point you to the Getting Started guide that we're opening up today. The Getting Started guide is a step-by-step instruction manual for you to download the SDK, configure your platform application, and then drop in the SDK into your native application and configure the native application to show ads. I encourage everyone to go take a look at this. There's a 5-step setup guide, which is open today. Now let's jump into code. What I have open is Xcode. And in Xcode is the project for the app I just showed. And in the view.load callback for the main view controller, I am going to go add a few lines of code. In fact, I will be uncommenting this piece of code. These 5 or 6 lines of code is now going to present a banner ad control inside of your app. Now let me dissect this. The first line is where we create the FB ad view. And so this is the banner ad view. And we initialize it with a placement ID. The placement ID is a unique identifier that is specific to your application. And this identifier is used to pivot all the stats for your applications. And subsequently, I set the ad size. So this is the 320 by 50 pixel banner format, which most of you should be familiar with. If you have ever used any mobile app that is ad supported, these ads will be very familiar to you. If you've played the Flappy Bird game, Dong Wen made all his money from this one format.
By the way, Dong, if you're listening to this, we love you. Please bring back Flappy Bird. Just throwing it out there.
And the next few lines of code, I am setting the dimensions of this ad control, and I'm adding it to the main view. That is all I have to do. Let's go ahead and run this and see what happens. This is the same app.
Woohoo! That's an ad.
Now
Yeah.
with the banner ad control.
Let's have a round of applause. That's right. I have no shame. I'm going to vamp. So Vijay, just to be clear, I have no shame from this. Just to be clear, so this is a live ad. We are doing it like Bill O'Reilly style and doing it live.
This is really live, yes.
And this is meant for you.
Correct. So what Sriram is hinting at is these ads are relevant to me as the user of your application. And you'll notice that I didn't set up any personally identifying information in my code. I didn't have to set the gender or age or even the GPS coordinates, nothing. All of this is gleaned from your Facebook data. Let me explain how this works. When you initialize an ad control, behind the scenes, we grab the device identifier and send it back to the Facebook servers. Every device, every mobile device in your pocket has a unique device identifier. And when we send it back to our Facebook servers, we map it to a Facebook user ID. And once that's mapped to a Facebook user ID, Facebook can now send relevant ads to your application without any effort from you.
OK, so Vijay, fine. The code is great, but how do I get started? How do I configure this stuff?
Perfect.
Whoa, what a coincidence. You just had that answer lined up.
I did. So the developer portal, as of today, will support a new tab called the Audience Network. And this should be familiar to you. And the Audience Network tab gives you all the controls you need to configure the Audience Network inside of your mobile application. Remember the placement ID I talked about? And this is where you would go create a new placement ID. And creating a placement ID is as easy as filling out a name and a description. And this is the placement ID that I was using in the app for the live ads.
OK, so we've seen how you can go to the developer's portal and you can configure an app. OK, Vijay, here's the scenario. You have an evil twin brother who has a competing app, and you don't want to see his ads inside your app. How do you make that happen? Common scenario. But more seriously, how do you try and make sure that ads from apps you don't want don't show up inside your app?
We have a filters tab that we're also presenting today. Now, using the filters, you can blacklist any specific application from iTunes or Google Play Store, or you can blacklist categories of application. So, for example, I have another app, just as an example, which if I want to blacklist from my application so I don't want to ever show this ad inside of my app, it's as easy as dropping the URL, picking the selected app, and boom. So you will no longer see this app ad inside of your app. Additionally, imagine if you don't like sports for some reason and you want to block all sports ads, it's as easy as just turning it off. And this will block all sports ads from ever showing inside of your application.
OK, so now this is actually pretty important because when we talk to a lot of publishers, this is something they care deeply about, the kinds of ads which show up inside their app. And they want to make sure they have ads only from the kinds of advertisers they want. OK, this is awesome. But how do I see how these ads are performing? In the immortal words of Cuba Gooding Jr., show me the money. Show me the performance.
We have a performance tab which is built on top of Facebook Insights. Facebook Insights give you real-time statistics on all the ad placements that you have inside of your app. You can see the requests, the total number of impressions, clicks, click-through rate, and how much money you're making up to the minute. And you can drill down into the details like this. And all of this is live today.
Yeah, this is pretty cool because for folks among you who work on the revenue side of your businesses, you're familiar with these dashboards. So having this real-time access to information on how these ads are doing is only a big part of knowing how effective your monetization is going. So publishers care a lot about this stuff.
Correct.
All right, so we've seen the dashboard, you've seen banners and interstitials, but how do I get those native ads that I was talking a lot about? How do I make these ads fit the experience of your app?
So I showed how easy it is to set up a banner ad and how you can harness the power of Facebook data to get relevant ads to your users. And Sriram talked a little bit about the native ad format, and I'm really excited about the native ad format. Basically what this is we're giving you the API that'll give you access to the atoms of the ad, the title, the icon, the image, the call to action button text. All of this is now available to you, so you can render the ad in the same idiomatic interface that your app sports. So imagine if your app has a blue background, then render the ad with the blue background. If your app has a custom font that you use all over the content, use the exact same custom font for your ad. This way, the ad doesn't stand out. I will show you how you can take this app and make native ads show up in here. Let's jump back into code. For now, I'm going to comment out the banner ad. And I'm going to jump into the data model. Because the native ads API gives you metadata about the app, you will have to go modify the data model side of your app as well as the rendering side of the app. So what I'm doing here is inserting native ads. And as you can see, I've chosen a distance of 10. What this means is I will insert one ad for every 10 organic stories. It's an arbitrary number. You can pick whatever. And then I will jump into the story model. And you will notice this is where I am creating one of the FB native ads. And you'll see that the FB native ad also uses a placement ID, very similar to the banner ads. And it's as simple as just loading the ad, and then you will get access to all the atoms of the ad.
So Vijay, so what you're doing here is you're just taking the same piece of code that shows the UI in your app, but then injecting that with native ads from the Audience Network API.
Correct, Sriram. So the last part of this is the rendering bit. So let's jump into the rendering code. And you'll notice I'm not making very many changes here. All I am doing is taking the title from the ad and showing it as the status message, taking the image from the ad and showing it as the background image of the story. And in addition to all of that, I am replacing, or I'm actually showing an action button that the ad is going to give me. And that's all I have to do. Let's go ahead and run, see what happens. And now the banner ad is gone. Again, it's just a regular feed, and it's also live. And as I scroll, one of the stories is an ad. And this is a live ad.
Yeah. So this is like, first of all, great courage in not having any embarrassing content there. But second, this is like a live ad powered by the same targeting of the audience network. This is meant for you.
Correct.
Right.
All of the power of the targeting that we talked about for banner ad is available in the native ads too.
That's really cool. So thank you, Vijay. That was awesome. Wasn't that awesome? Give Vijay a round of applause. OK, powers that be, back to my slides. Yes. So what Vijay showed you was how easy it is to get started and to, be it banners or interstitials or really custom native ads, to make them work for your app. So what we did over the last few months as we were building this out is we went and spoke to some of our key partners and advertisers. And we said, hey, we're building this out. We think this is cool. We would love to see what you can do with it. So what I'm going to show you is like 3 very, very different examples of what people have been able to do with the audience network. The first is Hipmunk. Hipmunk is a pretty popular travel site and app. And I'm pretty sure like a lot of you are familiar with it. And what Hipmunk wanted to do was they wanted to get people to install their app. But not just any people, people with strong intent. So what they did is they took all the users they had who had searched for something on the Hipmunk website, on the desktop. They built something called a Facebook custom audience with it, something which lets them match those users to people on Facebook, something which a lot of advertisers do on Facebook today. They've been running those ads on Facebook. This is how those ads look like. So if you're a person who's opened up Facebook, you see those ads, you probably searched on Hipmunk, you can now install the Hipmunk app. But what's now cool is with the audience network, they're able to do that, but these ads now show up not just inside the Facebook app, but they show up in all the apps that we have on the audience network. So for example, this is an awesome partner for us, MyFitnessPal, amazing fitness app. I don't use it as much as I should. And what you're seeing here is that same Hipmunk ad meant for that person who was searching for something on the site, now seeing his ad inside the app. This is pretty cool. This is something which is really, really hard to do if you think about it, right? Here's Hipmunk on the web, on a desktop computer, able to find those same people who really care about Hipmunk and going somewhere, but on a very different device, on a very different app. This is something it's really hard to do, and with the audience network, you're now able to go do this. So, yeah, thank you. Thanks. Thank you so much. Second, very different kind of company is Uniqlo. How many of you wear Uniqlo clothes? OK, a lot of you. Now, Uniqlo is a really famous retailer, a fast fashion company, which is doing amazingly well. And what they did is something very different. They went and took their list of all of their best customers, maybe even a lot of you, and they went and created what we call a lookalike audience on Facebook. They basically tried to say, hey, these are our best customers. Help me find people who are similar likes and interests on Facebook. And they've been running ads on Facebook, because guess what? If you are very similar in likes and interests with somebody who's a great customer, chances are you're probably a good Uniqlo customer as well. They've been getting great results with this. But now, with the audience network, when they run these ads, they can now find those people who are probably very, very likely to be Uniqlo customers inside any app on the audience network. So on the right, another great partner, IGN. They have these gorgeous native ads which are just like drool-worthy. And what you're seeing here is that same Uniqlo ad running on Facebook, but now showing up for that same person inside a different app, IGN. So two very different kind of companies. Third, again, very different company is Gree. Now, a lot of you here are probably familiar with Gree. They're a very, very famous gaming company. And they wanted to do something similar. They wanted to find people who are very likely to be similar to their best gamers. So they went and created a lookalike audience. People who are very similar in likes and interests to the people who are their best gamers. They were running their ads on Facebook, but now they are now able to find the same people inside other apps as well. Now here's the fun part. That app on the right is pretty special. That's Le Monde from France. For those of you who don't know, Le Monde is like New York Times and Wall Street Journal put together. So what Gree is able to do is able to do country-specific targeting to find the audience they care about, not just on Facebook, but inside a very different app, a very, very popular app. This is really, really cool. Now, the idea behind showing you these examples is to show you like the variety of companies who have been working with us and the variety of things you can do. We think this is really cool, and we think you're going to really like it. So, Vijay, one last question for you. We have a lot of people here who work with a bunch of mobile ad networks, right, and who have complex ad tech stacks. How do you use the audience network with other ad networks inside the app?
It's a good question. Today, with the SDK, we're bundling a couple mediation layer adapters. So if you're using any one of the ad tech that is popular in the industry, you should be able to drop our SDK right in, and these adapters will do the job for you. In addition to that, we're also providing the right set of hooks so you can write your own mediation layers for any other ad tech that you may be using.
Wow, that's cool. So the idea here is whether you want to integrate our SDK directly or you want to use this along with other ad networks and use our SDK along with other ad network providers, we want to make it as simple and as easy for you as possible. So we can do both. So to wrap up, what did we see here today? We saw how the audience network for advertisers is super easy to set up and lets them go and find audiences they care about inside mobile apps. And for publishers, we saw how it is super easy to integrate these ads inside your app and basically find a way to monetize your app on mobile. If you remember just one thing from this talk, it's that URL. If you're a publisher, go there, sign up. We have a waiting list. We're going to be adding people pretty aggressively. And if you're an advertiser, we're going to be rolling out access pretty broadly over the coming weeks. So we had a lot of fun building this. We had a lot of fun talking about it for the last 30, 40 minutes. We hope you have fun listening to us, and we hope you really enjoy using the audience network. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think we have time for a couple of questions. The only rule with these questions is that he gets all the hard ones, and I get all the easy ones. And Vijay says you can ask him anything, so just feel free, ask him anything.
No.
OK. That person there. And by the way, if we can't get your questions, we'll be around later. You can find us. We'll be hanging out. Be pretty easy to find. OK, go ahead.
Thanks. Are you guys disclosing a sort of standard revenue share?
No, we are not at this point. Yeah. Next question.
Can you talk about the publisher reach that you would expect in, say, the first month and then after the first year or so?
Wait, who was that?
Over there.
Oh, right. OK. Sorry. So, well, today is like us throwing open the doors to a wide test, right? We're pretty excited by the kind of publishers we have today. We have Le Monde and we have IGN. We saw Cut the Rope in the keynote. But it's really early to say how many publishers are going to go sign up. We hope a lot of people here and at home are going to sign up, but it's really hard to predict at this point. But we're pretty excited by the kind of people we have already. So too early to say.
How will the ROI compare on the Facebook advertiser network versus on Facebook, just the regular newsfeed ads?
OK. So I think the way, the question, by the way, I'm sorry, I wasn't repeating the questions. The question was, how will the ROI of these ads for advertisers, how will their experience be different from the audience network to Facebook? I think the way we think about it is we want to satisfy the advertisers' objectives, right? And sometimes the advertisers' objectives is to reach as much of an audience as they care about with the kind of performance they want. So be it in news feed or like right-hand side or inside the audience network, we're going to try and make it so that for an advertiser, you get the performance you care about, like regardless of where we wind up like showing the ad. As an advertiser, you should care about, hey, these are my objectives. These are the KPIs I care about. And is Facebook like doing the right thing to get me those KPIs? Okay, one last question. Yes. Oh, sorry. Somebody has a mic. Go ahead, person. Yeah, there.
On one of the slides, you showed the ability for an app to pass custom data back to Facebook to help with targeting.
Actually, that's exactly what we don't do. So one of the keys to this is we really want to make it so that all the data is from Facebook itself and not from the publisher. And this is something publishers care a lot about for privacy reasons and various other reasons. So like as Vijay showed in his code, the only thing we look for from inside our SDK, inside the app, is the identifier. And it's the only piece of data that we're using. There's absolutely nothing else coming up from the publisher. OK. So, well, I think we're out of time. We'll be around later. Feel free to grab us, buy VJ drinks. But we had a lot of fun. We hope you did too. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, let's give them a round of applause. Thank you guys again. In 10 minutes, we'll have small changes, big payoffs. So we'll see you back.